All right, so this is where we left off yesterday, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about what I'm going to have us do. This is probably going to take a couple days. So, what I wanted to do is give today and Monday. On Monday, I will just have Zoom open and chat with you, answer any questions or problems that you've run into. But I wanted to have this presentation ready to go for you to watch. That way you could just like dive right on into it. Because we don't need to meet for Zoom for this part. But if you do have questions, just email them to me and I'm obviously available all day. So we talked about last class making 30 different sketches. And I told you that we were going to have to do tight sketches. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on for today. And with those tight sketches, you can use Photoshop Sketch if you want, but ideally, I would prefer if you did it on paper. And we're going to talk about how to choose your top 5 to 10 because you're like, wow, Miss Yost, how am I supposed to choose? So we're going to take a look at tight sketches today, and I have examples of that. So those are the refined sketches. And you're going to choose your top 5 to 10 sketches that will be the ones to go in the final design. And I'll explain why we need 5 to 10 in a little bit. So what we're doing today is we're actually spending time on refining our designs by choosing the top 5. I prefer 5 to 10. If you're like kind of torn between a few, just keep them, and creating the tight sketches. So I'm going to show you an example in just a sec. So what I want to talk about first is how you even choose the top 5 to 10. So for me, I ask myself a few questions and I honestly just go with my gut. But I want you to circle the ones that your gut goes with. Sometimes it means having drastically different designs. Sometimes it means choosing designs that like feel complete to you. And I would say it's a mix of those things and thinking about whether or not your design fits your inspiration board and list well. So going through all of your sketches, ask yourself, like, does this feel complete? Does it just feel off? If it feels off at all, then it probably isn't one that you'd want to go to be a final design. Because sometimes our art, it isn't a science, it's like a gut feeling that we just go with. And typically that's over time you refine your eye and figure out like which things feel correct or feel like they have harmony and unity and just feel complete in general. Like when you look at something, sometimes it feels like, this is kind of just like not good. At least when it comes to our art or the things that we design. And it's typically because we haven't utilized all the elements or principles of design, but you will figure that out over time. It's a skill that you'll refine as we go through this process over and over again. So for you, when you go to choose 5 to 10 designs, I want you to think about which are the top designs that really fit your inspiration board and your list well. And it doesn't have to match every single word in your list, but I do want it to feel like it matches the words that really resonate with you the most, or that you think are very good when it comes to giving a first impression to someone. So let me go on to the next one. So here is an example of tight sketches. So these are like the top 12 sketches that aren't from the brainstorm, like rough draft. This is like after you've gone through and you're like, oh yeah, I really, really like these. These are my refined, like top tight sketches. And you'll notice that they are really, really clean. Like here, you can kind of see it's a little bit messy. But for the most part, the lines are really, really straight here. The thickness of the lines is consistent. And this is why I tell you to take your time and also draw bigger than you think, because you can't get in good detail if you're like, drawing with like really tight shoulders and you're trying to draw microscopically. Like draw bigger than you think you need. Because even details like this, you really need to make sure that you are giving enough space. And if you're drawing small, you're not going to be able to get good detail. So if it isn't working, then you might want to cross it out and try and redraw it, but draw it twice as big. But you'll notice that all of these designs, like this is kind of messy a little bit. That's okay, but it is pretty clean. The details in the pencil are there. The lines are all the same thickness. The lines are straight. Once again, if you need to use a ruler or even like, see, this is a really good circle, maybe find a quarter or a penny or something that will allow you to make these lines either perfectly curved or straight, whatever you need to do to make it very consistent, because you're going to eventually take a photo of these designs and then you're going to draw over them using the Chromebook. So you can see these are the computer designs, and this is by my friends over at Lincoln Design Company. They made a pop-up shop kind of thing for Portland. And so these are all designed in Illustrator. But if you look at this design right here and you compare it to this design, it's very, very close. Of course, they changed some things, but since we're not able to work in Illustrator, the next best thing for us is to make a really, really nice, clean, tight sketch and then take a photo of it. And you're going to send that photo to yourself and you'll make a new layer and then another layer and draw on top of it. And I will make a tutorial for what I'm talking about. So if you're like, oh my gosh, Miss Yost, what the heck are you talking about? Don't worry, I got you. So eventually I want it to look clean like this. Of course, all the lines won't be perfect because these are being designed in a computer program that makes perfect lines, but I want you to try. And that's why taking your time is really important. So the other thing that I was going to mention is you'll notice that these are all different logos for the same event. And the reason why you want to have different logos is because your client might say, ooh, I really like this for my main logo, but I want this to become a sticker, or I want this to be our social media icon, or I'll have this on my business card. And that's what brands do. They have tons of different versions of their logo, and you're going to do that for this project when we get to the last portion of the project itself. So it is important that you do complete 5 to 10 designs, have one main logo, and then maybe you might want to design some sub logos or alternative logos, and that's what these smaller ones are called. So definitely keep that in mind because we will be utilizing those when we do get to making our brand guide. So that is what I'm talking about when I am explaining tight sketches to you. And then next up, what I'm going to have is a tutorial on how to go from this, your drawing, to this using either Adobe Sketch or Adobe Illustrator Draw.